My name is Jeremy, like you said, and I'm from the United States. I teach English online, and yeah, I'm happy to be here today to discuss some health-related topics.
Okay, thank you. Without further ado, let's jump right in. The first question today
错了，再
about
来。
health is it better to have a consistent sleep schedule or to adapt sleep patterns based on individual needs?
That's interesting. I mean, I think that for each individual, they should probably have a consistent pattern, sleep schedule or pattern. But I guess that everybody's needs could vary a little bit. I don't believe that they vary that much. Like, I guess there are general guidelines about like maybe between 7 and 9 hours of sleep for adults is like, typically ideal, and you probably don't want to deviate too much from that. But I would say like probably most people know that they have some individual habits that work best for them. So I don't think everybody's sleep schedule needs to be exactly the same, you know?
I also heard about actually there are two types of people or
Mm.
chronotypes, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
So night owl and early birds. And
Ah.
I think in the society, a lot of night owls
Mm.
are being under pressure because they have to follow the
Mm.
9 to 6 working schedule and
Mm.
the morning larks, the
Mm.
early birds, they can feel so refreshed, full of energy when they arrive at the working place.
Mm.
But while the
Mm.
night owls, they have to struggle. They couldn't barely open
Mm.
their eyes. And I think it's not
Yeah.
fair. It's not fair. So I do think like not only the
Mm.
individuals should adapt to
Mm.
the individual sleeping patterns, but also the
Mm.
society needs to adapt to a more flexible working schedule too.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's an interesting thought to try to like accommodate night owls and early birds at the same time rather than making everyone conform to the same working schedule. I think that would be great, actually. I don't think that it's a change that's going to happen in most places anytime soon, but I
yeah,
think in general, like, I think that you can adjust your habits a little bit, but like in general, I do think that some people just naturally their natural circadian rhythms or whatever lead them to be awake a little bit later and get up a little bit later, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, except for that
yeah.
we have to live in this society where it is sort of a disadvantage.
That's true. And
Mm.
the second question is it realistic to expect people to completely avoid processed food in the modern society?
Mm. That's interesting. I guess it probably depends a lot on where you live. If we're speaking about what I have knowledge of is which is the US, I would say no. In the US, it's pretty difficult to completely avoid processed foods, especially if you're just an
Oh,
average everyday person, right? Like you're working a normal job, maybe you have kids or a family or some other responsibilities to take care of. Like most people don't have either the time or the money to cook for themselves all the
oh,
time, and buying a
okay.
lot of fresh ingredients can be expensive. So I think that here, no, there's also a lot of places in the US where fresh groceries aren't even available. They call these like food deserts, where people can only
Well,
access processed foods within, their town or within the area that they live. So yeah, I would say maybe I'm not sure. You can tell me more about what the situation is in China, but I would say here it's pretty hard to 100% avoid those types of foods.
I think in China is 100% feasible and
Okay.
possible to avoid
Mm.
processed food. And we have
Okay.
in every single region of China, they
Mm.
have the farmers market opening
Mm.
from the early morning to the late afternoon. So you can buy
Mm. That's
all
true.
kinds of vegetables fresh, and also
Mm.
meat also very fresh. So
Mm.
especially if you are living in countryside, there is fewer chances that you could get contact with the processed food.
Mm.
There
Okay.
there
Okay.
aren't many options in the small convenience store in your countryside.
Mm.
So
Mm.
you just have to suck it up to eat the uh, organic food. Yeah,
Okay,
I,
just suck it up and eat whole foods.
yeah,
Okay, no
yeah.
Doritos. Um, yeah, yeah, that's very interesting. I would say farmers markets like that are not available everywhere here, and the farmers
Mm.
markets that we do have, it's maybe a little bit of an opposite situation because oftentimes those are places that are seen as more like upper class. Like you go to the farmers
Oh,
market to buy like local organic produce, that's going to be more expensive than if you tried to find produce in like Walmart or these big chain stores.
oh.
Um, yeah, it's those don't exist everywhere anyways. They usually only exist in places where people have like a relatively good income in order to buy the products that they offer.
That's interesting. In China,
Mm,
buying groceries in Walmart or any other supermarket like Sam or I don't know, they are
mm.
considered another level of the game. But
Oh,
if you go,
really?
yeah,
Mm,
if you go to the farmers market, you are just
mm.
ordinary Jew. Is
Okay.
yeah, that's
Okay.
true.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
little bit opposite here.
it's opposite. But I
Mm,
think young people they don't like to avoid completely the processed
mm.
food. It's so
Yeah.
tasty. Uh,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
companies manufacturing those snacks or processed food,
Mm,
they put a lot of money and research into it to make the
mm.
perfect blend of the flavor and also
Yeah.
the high point is the high point
Yeah.
you know the dopamine release point. They have to yeah you can, I think
Right, right. They have to like hook people onto this taste,
yeah
right?
yes
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, that's why like they have like trans fats, like these like, ingredients that you don't usually find in normal fruits and vegetables or whole foods. They pump a lot of that into there and then you can notice that the taste is is a
yeah
lot more addictive than like
it's
carrots.
yeah like we our ancestors didn't have such products existed
Oh
um
yeah.
like our body, our instinct,
Mm.
DNA tells us that we need to store more fat, store more
Yeah.
food. This ancient instinct, living in
Mm.
this modern society,
Mm.
causes the overindulgence of
Yeah.
processed food. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have a completely different situation with food scarcity nowadays than ancient peoples usually did, right? I mean, you imagine if you took an ancient person and put
Yeah.
them in a room with a refrigerator. Like this is a totally foreign concept that you could like just have food readily available at all times. In those days, if you had a food, maybe you hunted it, you gathered it, you got some food that is,
Mhm.
not necessarily always available in that place, and then you need to eat it as soon as possible.
That's true.
So yeah, I think it's
We
true
don't
that
we
we
don't
have
have
this.
food scarcity anymore
Mm.
in most part of the world. Maybe we have
Yeah.
nutrition surplus. Is it? Oh,
You could say like so a surplus would be like more of something, but maybe we have like a nutrition like you could say scarcity
overabundance.
or a lack of nutrition. Well, okay, I see what you're saying. I was thinking the opposite that we have kind of like a lot of food but like not as much nutrition, like we kind of have
Yeah, yeah.
a
That's right. Yes,
surplus
yes.
a surplus of food but like a lack of nutrition in some way, like a nutrition scarcity in some ways. But I mean, maybe it's
Mhm.
not really a nutrition scarcity because we can get nutrition, but it is just like
Yeah,
because of all the processed foods, it's harder in some ways.
yeah. I got you. You're right. Let me quick adjust my headphone. I think my
Mm,
headphone
sure,
has a
sure.
problem. Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. Can
Mm.
short, high intensity exercise be as effective as longer workouts?
Oh, this feels like a question, that should be aimed at an expert in exercise. I think for me personally, I mean, if I could just this could be totally unscientific, but if I just speak from my personal experience, I think that like yes, you can do either one effectively. It just depends on like how you're using your time and whether or not you know how to do the exercises that you're attempting. Because I think the biggest problem that people often encounter with exercising is that they don't actually know how to properly do a lot of exercises. They could hurt themselves, like stretch a muscle or something like
Oh,
this, and then give up or think that it's detrimental to their health rather than helpful. But I think that if you know how to properly do the exercises that you're doing, and you're doing either high intensity, shorter periods of workouts, or longer, but like lower, or not lower but like moderate intensity workouts, I think
okay.
either one can be effective depending on your schedule. At least that's my impression. I don't know scientifically, based on research that they've done, which they've found to be like the most effective for people, but in my personal experience, that's what I would say.
I think from my personal experience too,
Mm,
I would say just longer workouts probably are
mm,
better than short, intense release
mm,
of exercise.
mm,
So
mm,
because see it from a archaeologist point of view,
mhm,
like
mhm,
like we if we dig into history and see the
mm,
primal human beings,
mm,
they hunt they
mm,
hunt the prey, but
mm,
they had to run or had to walk
mm.
maybe hundreds of miles, if not maybe
Oh, true,
dozens of miles up to the prey, right? They
true.
are experiencing the longer workouts. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think just
Mm,
from a that point of view, I think we should
like an
do
anthropological or point of
yeah,
view.
yeah,
Mm,
anthropological point of view. I think
mm,
maybe longer workouts with low to moderate intensity could
mm,
benefit us
mm.
more than short and intense ones. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, I've heard that one of the best things that you can do for your health is just walk more, right?
yeah,
And like you mentioned, ancient humans or even hominins before humans were very, very used to walking all day long.
yeah,
And I think that there are lots of tribes that I've read about before that, not maybe not lots of tribes, but there are still tribes today that use the same methods that ancient humans did to hunt. And I forget exactly what it's called, but there's this method of hunting where basically
yeah.
human beings we're not the fastest, we're not the strongest.
Mhm.
We actually lack many advantages that other predators have, but we have very good endurance. Like that's what
Mhm.
is different to us from other types of animals, and so we can like walk all day long. And I know that there are some tribes that still use this method of hunting where they basically just stalk their prey for the entire day or maybe even days on end. And even though the
Yeah,
prey
yeah.
that they're stalking is
Mhm.
stronger, is better than them in most ways, it just can't go on forever. But humans
Yeah,
can go on for a lot longer. So
yeah.
eventually it will just like collapse of exhaustion. So that's one way of hunting if you can stand to walk
That's
all day
true.
long.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that there could be something to what you're saying. That there
Mhm.
could be a connection to what our bodies have evolved to do.
Mhm. Yeah. Let's move on to the next question. What are the advantages and risks of people relying on self-diagnosis through the internet?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. That gets into like a lot of not just physical but mental health stuff as well, because I think a lot of people might find information about like mental health diagnoses, like depression or anxiety on the internet, or even other disorders like autism. Yeah, I think that one issue, depending on where you live, could be the healthcare system. In many places, it's very difficult to actually find a doctor to like diagnose you or to get a referral for a specialist that could diagnose you with a certain condition that you might be experiencing symptoms, but you don't know exactly what it is. So a lot of people could turn to the internet for that reason, and I think that that can be helpful if you like can't find other medical professionals to help you. I think ideally you should have a medical professional who knows what they're talking about, and who has
mm,
studied this stuff to like give you reliable information, and also to tell you whether or not your symptoms might be confused with something different. But in the
yeah,
absence of that, I understand why people go to the internet. And I think that if you're really struggling in your day to day life to manage some types of symptoms, just knowing what it is, like you're like, oh, I think I have ADHD, actually knowing that can help you find like YouTube videos about how to manage your symptoms, or other websites, articles, information. So, I think that there are some advantages. The disadvantages, I would say, are like definitely people may easily mistake their symptoms for something that it is not, or they could be dealing with a certain difficult life situation and think that they have a long-term chronic condition, but it's actually
yeah,
just the pressure of their
yeah,
life at that time, right? Or another risk could just be that people, like end up taking bad advice, or there's a lot of bad information out there about, different conditions, about like, oh, what you should do if you have this or if you have that,
mhm,
or how it's going to affect your life. And so you shouldn't necessarily just like believe whole cloth anything that is any idea that's sold to you about self-diagnosis on the internet. So yeah, I would say you have to be careful with it, but I understand why people turn to that resource.
mm. I would say in China, it's hard to find self-diagnosis helping
Mm,
videos. I mean, on the
mm,
internet, we have the blockade, so
mm,
um, we don't have many resources to diagnose ourselves. And
mm,
I think another advantage of self-diagnosing is actually sometimes with the advancement of AI, the
mm,
self-diagnose rate is significantly higher than before with the aid
mm,
of AI.
mm,
So it saves
mm,
time, and also the uh, I want to say the Chinese hospitals and also the
mm,
doctors, they have a huge amount of work on their shoulders. So
mm,
Chinese people are just um, the, the number of people are just
mm.
too huge, and every patient
Right,
is
right,
allocated very little time. So
right.
if you just go to
Mm,
the office of
mm,
the doctor would only give you 5 minutes and
mm.
to prescribe some checkup prescriptions
Yeah.
like blood test or CRT or X-ray like those. So I think we
Mm,
do need those checkups
mm.
to determine which kind of disease or illness we have.
Yeah.
Uh, but self-diagnosing on one hand just
Mm,
save us time, and we can buy medicine online. So
mm. Yeah,
um, yeah, it's a little bit hard topic for me,
mm.
but we need
That
to
makes sense. Yeah,
yeah
yeah.
we need to move on to one last question.
Mm. Sure.
Is it ethical? Is it ethical to use advanced medical technology to enhance human performance beyond normal health?
Oh, interesting. Is it ethical? I mean, I guess that depends on exactly what type of enhancement we're talking about, and how that's tested, how that is, discovered. Because obviously, you can't just like, take a group of humans and do a bunch of testing on them to find out if those enhancements would work or not. I think that that would be very unethical if they were
Oh,
trying to, inject untested drugs, or do untested modifications, whether that's surgical or whatever, to real people, without knowing whether or not it can harm them. I think that that would be quite unethical. I guess
have you
that.
sorry to interrupt. Have you heard about in the gym some bodybuilders they use
Mm.
asteroid? Is that
Oh, a lot of people use testosterone and other
yeah
steroids, right?
yeah
Um,
steroids and testosterone? Yeah, is that
yes,
the
yes.
part of the question?
Oh, I mean, that is very, very common. Especially like now in social media, I think you see a lot of people who even openly promote this type of stuff, taking
Mhm.
steroids because they're like, this is the way to achieve the ideal body type. I think for most people, it's actually not about performance. It's mostly about
Oh,
the aesthetics of looking a certain way. But there are people who use it as a performance enhancing drug for competitions and things like that. But I would say that that's a pretty small percentage of like, professional bodybuilders versus just people who like the look of being really buff and stuff like that. Um,
mm,
but yeah, I mean, overall, I guess I would say probably in the future there will be more medical technology that's developed to enhance humans. And I think that that could be a very good thing if the research is done carefully and if they, consider these ethical, maybe there could be some ethical dilemmas that they need to consider before taking the next step. The problem is usually we consider ethical dilemmas after we've already done something. And so I think that
ha-
if
ha-
it was done proactively, that would be best.
have you? I think we talked about this YouTuber
Mm,
before. He is a
mm.
father, and he transferred his
Ye-
blood to his son, and his son gave his blood to him, and
Yes.
that's
Yes. His
ethical.
name is Brian Johnson, I think, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess if he and his son both consent to this, I guess it's ethical. I guess not neither of them are forcing the other
Okay.
one to do all of this
Okay.
stuff. I mean, I don't know
Uh,
how much pressure he's put on his son. Maybe it's unethical if he's like, kind of not forcing him, but putting so much pressure on him that it doesn't feel like a choice. I don't really know the specifics of that situation, but I guess it's strange to me, but I would say it seems like he hasn't done anything unethical. I don't know.
but the action itself seems to me already unethical.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
Just like doing the blood transfusion and stuff, like without knowing the outcome of this.
Yeah, yeah. Just I think
Yeah.
we cannot steal. Like you are
Mm,
old and you want to steal
mm.
youth from a younger person, and that person
Yeah.
happens to be your son. So you are sucking your
Yeah.
blood, the blood out of your you know your yeah your
Yeah, I
sons.
mean, I don't know, like, I guess probably he's thinking that, like, because his son is young, like, he will continue to renew and, like, his body will continue to,
Okay,
like,
okay.
since he's at the prime of his life. I don't know if, like, medically, I am not a doctor. I don't know how blood transfusions, what effect that has on the body. It doesn't seem like to me that probably helps either of them. I don't know that it has any effect at all. But I mean, supposedly he believes that having young blood in him will do something. But I don't, as far as I know, medically, I don't think that that will do anything, anyways.
Okay.
Um, I'm not sure, but it's a very strange case of this, like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's a
attempt
strange.
to enhance human abilities, and in this case, the human lifespan, right?
Mm. And
Mm.
thank you, Jeremy. I know you are in a rush, so I won't delay
Uh,
you any longer. And thank you
Thank
for
you,
today's interview. And I hope you have a great trip with your friends. And see you next
thank
time.
you, thank you, thank you. See you next.